You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, card shop, arcade, theme park, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing RetroMania Wrestling. How is this game going to hold up? Is it going to get a play it forever?
Woo!
Or a future endeavor?
You're fired!
Haven't heard that in a while. We also discussed the GTA 6 leak and more gaming news.
And don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And check out all the exclusive content we are making for our Patreon at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. John, this feels so strange to be doing like a regular episode. I feel like all I know is Game Wars now. Like that's finally over.
I didn't think I would be this happy to get back to a game, but I loved Game Wars. It was such a cool time and something that we're gonna definitely do again. But listen, Old Faithful, just playing a classic wrestling game, giving it a rating. That's what we're here for.
Well, technically, we're not done with Game Wars yet because we still have to announce who won.
That's right, and I think we're gonna do that right now because, George, I want that drum roll that I hate so much. Your winner of Game Wars. To nobody's surprise, WWF No Mercy. Now I gotta say, this was a close one. It started off, Here Comes the Pain started off winning this. But in the end, it was only 55% to 44% with, the decimals and whatnot. But this was a lot closer than I thought. I thought one of these would run away with it. But judging by what people were commenting and replying, Here Comes the Pain is very high up on a lot of people's lists. I just think No Mercy has that ultimate nostalgia factor.
Yeah, we talked about on the last bracket, the finals for Game Wars, that we knew that it was going to be this. And we knew that, when you talk about people and their rankings of the greatest wrestling games ever, it's always these two. These two are always, they may not be 1 and 2. They may not, they could flip flop, but these two are always in the top 5. Right. So, the fact that, and this was the closest battle. Yeah, right. That was closer than
Revenge
closer than any of the other matchups that we had.
Yeah, Revenge and Here Comes the Pain was 53.1 to 46.9, which was a lot. And that was very close. And we won't talk about the deficit of No Mercy to Def Jam Vendetta, but it was a complete blowout. But Def Jam Vendetta and SmackDown 2 was also very close. The whole first round was very, very close. So,
yes.
I don't know. I think who we thought would make it to the end made it to the end, and who we thought would win won. So
it worked out the way that we had planned, but nevertheless, though, it was such a fun little experiment, and I think that you and I had a good time doing it. I think the listeners of the podcast also enjoyed it. So this is not the last Game Wars that you will see on the Game Marks podcast. So we'll keep you updated on that. But John, we are so close. Let's get a live count right now for the Twitter machine.
We are at 932. That's almost 100 more than last week. And when we hit that 1,000, we are going to be dropping the video game history of Mick Foley. That's all the faces of Foley, including just the man, Mick himself. See what games he's been in. We're going to do the ultimate deep dive like we did to the Undertaker, the Road Warriors, and Bret the Hitman Hart, and I cannot wait to do this one. It's going to be great. But there was something else going on Twitter the past few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And that was this baby right here, this Elite 92 Rey Mysterio. We were giving this away. All you had to do was retweet and follow us, and we have a winner here. I spun the wheel. I put the names in there, and you're a winner. Hit me with that drum roll again. And we're done. The winner is at Firefly FH Figs. Message us to claim your prize, and we will ship this beauty out to you.
And now this is where you can put the clip of Smart Mark going, "You win," because he always says it like he's like a video game character, like announcing the end of a Street Fighter match for some reason.
Well, speaking of Smart Mark being a video game character, I think it's time, if you're ready, that we're going to do our little deep dive. Put on those nostalgic
I can't believe he's in a video game. It's just like that sentence still is just like, oh yeah, I forget that he's in here.
He's in there, and we are going to do our deep dive of RetroMania Wrestling, sponsored by Xavi.
Oh, baby.
Hey, George. You see this light here that says Game Over that I point to at the end of every single episode, like Ronda Rousey pointing to that WrestleMania sign?
I do.
Do you know where I got it?
Why don't you tell me?
I got it from Xavi. That's us.xavi.com, Zavvi, and they literally have everything. I have spent hours on this website looking up Mandalorian, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, like everything you could imagine. There's Legos, Power Rangers. You could pre-order the new Marvel Legends. It's an insane website that has literally everything pop culture. There's even Batman shoes on here.
I mean, I know for me, a little like adult Zen garden project that I like to do is like the smaller Lego sets, and Xavi has a lot of those Lego sets on there and getting kind of itchy. So if you like all things pop culture, like John said, Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Harry Potter, Nintendo, they're even getting into the wrestling game now.
Oh yeah.
Xavi is the place for you.
That's right. Use code GameMarks, simply just GameMarks, at checkout, and you can get 10% off.
I'm going to redo my wardrobe. All right. RetroMania Wrestling released April 1st of 2021 for the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and the PC. Published by Retrosoft Studios, developed by Retrosoft Studios, and other games in 2021 you have WWE Champions 2021, WWE Undefeated. You have Action Arcade Wrestling, but back then it was known as Chikara Action Arcade Wrestling. You have New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Spirits. Now,
something I dabbled in, but that was a very confusing one.
Yes, that was. I think I remember.
Based, yeah.
We'll have to go through the message thread that we have and find out the conversations that you and I had about that game, and just like, are you having as much of a hard time with this game as I am? This feels like more than a language barrier, but that is a game for a different show. So June 1st of 2020, you and I sat down with Mike Herman, who is the owner of RetroMania, or of Retrosoft Studios, and one of the makers of RetroMania Wrestling. And if you haven't listened to that, please make sure to go and do that. It was a great interview with a lot of insight into the process of this game coming to be, and some really great stories of some of the talent and their interactions with Mike throughout the development of this game.
Yeah, not only that, just seeing what a big fan of wrestling and wrestling games he was, which I think is key to developing a game, which is why you see guys like Austin Idol, Hawk and Animal, Nikita Koloff, people you wouldn't normally want in a game, but they're there because he's a wrestling fan. The BWO is in this game over whoever else he could have chosen, but he goes through all of that, his selection process, what it was like dealing with some of the wrestlers, the families. It's just a really cool listen. I would say it's the prerequisite to listening to this episode. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's available everywhere, including YouTube. So yeah, but
good old days.
What I just want to talk about right now, what a weird time this was, because for us, for the podcast, for the world, this was during the pandemic that we recorded this episode with Mike. We were getting excited for this game to come out. It finally did come out. We got the early release. We got to play it with Broski and Mark live on the Major Pod Network Twitch account.
Yeah, wasn't I green for that?
You were green, yeah. For some reason, we were green. So we got the first look the night before. You even were able to send Mike some bugs that he was able to fix before the release. It was just
find bugs?
It was just a great experience working with Retrosoft on that, and just being a part of the release of a game, because it's not only a game you're familiar with because of WrestleFest. It's a game on its own that's just so unique and so much fun, and we've looked forward to it not just because we knew him. Like, it's just a good game. It's great. Yeah. You're always finding something new that looks good, feels good in this game, and there's a lot to do.
And, speaking to the fact that it looked good and felt good and overall was just a very enjoyable game to play leading up into the hype of the release, that all stems from what this game is at its core, which is an homage to the WWF arcade games like WrestleFest and Matchmania and those styles of games. And, during our interview, we actually learned that Mike Herman owns the license to WrestleFest, which is mind-blowing and like the coolest part of that interview. I'm pretty sure that there was a good 15 seconds of silence after he dropped that bomb on us. We were just like, what? You what?
So not only the spiritual successor of WrestleFest, it is the actual sequel to WrestleFest because the license is owned by the same company. He also owns the license to Matchmania and said he would want to incorporate that into the story in the future. Now, something unique and original was he wanted to, instead of having a roster of wrestlers, actually put a roster of video game YouTubers that he followed. But he knew there would be a shelf life to that, which is why he pivoted. But there's always a chance to use them in the future. And there's a lot of cameos in this game as well that we'll get to later when we run down the roster. But let's talk about the actual gameplay itself, because he kind of took a poo-poo on the game we took a poo-poo on, which was WWE's version of WrestleFest that came out for the iOS and Android. It was not good at all. It was not good. They tried.
It looked good. It just, everything about it was wrong.
Right. But just like the original game, it's all timing based. It features a light, a medium, and heavy grapple set. But each wrestler also has their own strikes, running attacks, counters, and all that. Now, upon release, I think they got some flack because you didn't really know the finishers or how to do them. Shortly after, they released the finisher guide, which is available everywhere. It's on Steam, and it's just great to know how to do a finisher in a game. This is an attitude where you gotta figure it out, or Warzone, whatever. And that's something that I always like that they did, because even to this day, they're constantly adding stuff and updating stuff. They gave us Matt Cardona's robe that he wore at NWA after the fact. They gave us even the prompts on the screen. Those were not there day one. When you hit the grapple and it actually takes, you light up green, so you know that, okay, I hit the move. It says either you hit the move or it's reversed, or it just has a lot of the prompts. And I also feel like there wasn't enough to the HUD when the game first came out, that now they kind of perfected that, and it's easier to read and know what you're doing in the match. And it's just, that's what you want in a game company, is just keep updating it, keep making stuff, keep making it better. And they didn't rush the release. It kind of got pushed back a bunch, especially on the Switch and the consoles. And yeah, it's almost near perfect now.
We've talked about it so much with WWE 2K22 that you almost forget that that's it's the same thing that we praised about that game is the same thing that we praised about this game. It's like you said, it's the transparency, it's the frequent updates, it's the apologies backed with fact and reasoning behind it. It's like, hey, we are very sorry that we're not, meeting these deadlines that we promised you, but there's good reasoning behind that, and that's because we want to make sure that your first experience and the first impression that you make with this game that we have put our blood, sweat, and tears into is the best possible experience that you can have. And you could say what you want. You can get. I mean, we were frustrated in the moment as well because part of that is that you're just excited to play the game, but you really can't fault a game developer for taking. Adding an extra week on the release date to make sure that you're having the best possible experience, and then doubling down on that essentially like throughout the lifespan of the game, being like, hey, there's another feature that's coming out and we're going to be rolling that out, and building hype for stuff like when Chris Bay was getting released, the hype and the promotions and the sprite sheets that were released. I mean, I know that you and I have talked behind the scenes, and I think we may have even mentioned it once or twice on the podcast that like, when game developers that are making these retro style games release sprite sheets for their characters, you and I are always just like, look how fucking cool these are.
Yeah, it's absolutely mesmerizing. So full transparency, but also the fact that they were giving us, hey, sorry about the PS4 release. Hey, sorry about the Xbox release, because there's licenses you have to go. There's a lot that goes into publishing a game. You're not just publishing it and that's it. And especially this day and age, especially during a pandemic, how many games do you think were being published at that time when everyone was working from home and just constantly working on their own stuff? Now,
yeah, I mean, they're used to working in a certain space on a certain level of hardware, and now you don't have access to that.
Right. But the transparency, like George said, is all we need. Now, I feel like WrestleQuest is doing the same thing now, where they're giving updates saying, hey, things aren't going as we thought, but here's a new video. Here's a new clip. Here's what's in store for you. It's coming soon. We promise. It's just like a virtual bit. Never mind. They're not doing that. But let's get into the game modes here of RetroMania, because while it doesn't look like there's a lot, there actually is quite a bit. So your exhibition mode, we're going to start there. Single, 3-way, 4-way, tag team, 6-man tag, and 8-man tag. Now, you could also modify all of those to be done either tornado style, in a cage, falls count anywhere, or 2 out of 3 falls. In other words, it's chaos. Pure chaos.
The asterisk to that statement that John just said is it's literally any match. That 8-man tag match, you can make a cage match. And it's a lot. It's awesome, and it's a ton of fun, but it is, like John said, pure chaos.
A lot of elements of this game. Oh, I don't know how to say this without just flat out saying it reminds me of Fire Pro. But I feel like Mike is such a big wrestling game fan that he took stuff from Fire Pro. He took stuff from the classic. He took, even the nut shots, the bell noise from No Mercy and all that. You go down to the commentary, which is Colt Cabana and Ian Riccaboni, where they're saying callbacks to the original WrestleFest. There was just so much thought put into every single part of this game. But I digress. Let's get back to the match types. Retro Rumble, which we just did in our playthrough. You can go check it out. Also Chaos, but also pretty cool what you can do with the features of this game. You could start a certain amount in the ring. You could start a certain amount, how many can be in the ring at a time, which is cool. And
yeah, that I almost don't remember from the last time that I played. So when this game first came out, I played it this was back in the day where, either myself or John was streaming every week.
The good old days,
on
working
our Twitch
from home.
channel. Yeah, and this was all we played for like 2, 3, or 4 months. Like the first month was just messing around, playing through matches, like seeing how crazy we could make the setups. Then I think the next month was going through the 10 pounds of gold mode with as many wrestlers as we could. And then the third month was, all right, let's like burn through all the achievements on Steam and try to get as much done as we can, and also pepper in some more of those like chaotic, crazy matches. But I don't think I ever remember going into the match options for Retro Rumble and seeing all that until we actually played through today, which I guess maybe I'm just so used to these types of games having where if it's like it's a specific Rumble type match, there's set rules and you can't change them.
Yeah. That's where I kind of compare it to like a Fire Pro where everything's just customizable. But hey, there's also a callback to pro wrestling on the NES where you get the congratulations, a winner is you after you win the Retro Rumble or the end of the story mode with a nice graphic of all the wrestlers in the game. So let's we're going backwards here. So the 10 pounds of gold, I don't want to get to the story yet because we can go a little more in depth than that. The 10 pounds of gold is just your standard tournament where you have to reach Nick Aldis for the NWA title. Now the cool part is once you win that, you actually, your guy comes out with the title even in exhibitions going forward. So in my game, obviously, Brian Myers is the NWA champion. I think Matt Cardona is in George's.
I think Broski's mine, yeah.
When you play the game, they're going to come out with that beautiful NWA belt. So it's one thing to have licensed wrestlers in the game, but I love the fact that there's a licensed company in the game as well. And you have the actual big, the beautiful NWA belt. You have the arenas in there. It's just such a good, I just keep saying it's such a good, but it is. It's a good game. There's a lot of stuff in here that's great. Now, the story mode, this is, I think, the weakest part of the whole game. There's some weird parts.
It's a work in progress still.
Which is odd to me that it was released as a work in progress. It's only 3 chapters right now, and you could only be John Morrison, who is also known as Johnny Retro, in this game. It is a branching story because you can pick heel or face, and it will come up with a menu and tell you what you are if you want to remember. There's a lot of decisions you can make, people you could team with, matches that you could have. And then it just kind of ends abruptly with you having to challenge the Road Warriors who are doing like a reunion tour. And then it says to be continued. So it's only 3 chapters. I think total it's only like 12 or so matches, maybe more, give or take. I don't know. So it's not a lot. But the cool part is there's cameos in there of... I wrote them down here, but I'll go into them now. There's Ryan from Pro Wrestling Tees. There's Bill Apter, who is interviewing you. And then there's Dave Meltzer, who's rating your matches and giving you the backstage insight on like other companies like Japan and stuff, which is pretty cool to see. And then, guys make comments like, oh, I hate that guy. I'd love to punch him and all that. So I like those little nuggets in there that you don't usually see.
And each wrestler throughout the story mode has... several different poses and designs that they go through based on what they're actually saying or if they're reacting to someone's sentence or whatever promo is happening or heated conversation backstage, and those change based on who you're currently getting ready to set up a match against and what arena you're fighting in. And there's just these storyboard style I guess the presentation for the story is such a unique style to this game, and it's such a beautiful presentation. Like all of the graphics for the backstage sections, all of the the sprites for the characters in these backstage arenas is just so nice, and the story mode is presented very well, like John said, but my only gripe is that it's so short.
Yeah, so the whole presentation of it is backstage segments or even in the ring, but they're what do you call them? They're like the caricature version of the wrestlers that you see like on the cover and all that. It's just them talking with the text.
Yeah, so I had equated it to like it's like a storyboard, like how if you were like putting together a project or something, you'd be like, yeah, we're just, and then this person stands here, and then eventually they'll move to this side. But like that's just the presentation, and it's like a
Road to WrestleMania on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah,
or
it's
Fire
like a
Pro.
weird combination of hand drawn and retro style graphics. Like there's a little bit of the choppiness to the line work that happens in the outlines of the objects, which gives it that vintage retro look, but the caricature style of the wrestlers themselves is very modern and detailed looking. So it's like a nice blending of both styles.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's pretty much like No Mercy also. Just cartoony, not the actual character. But there are some weird animations in there. I don't know if you noticed that it breaks from that and it does like a full like cartoon animation of like a different view and a different, like when Johnny Retro gets beat up by Zack Sabre Jr. It's like a full-on like Looney Tunes style cartoon that's in there. And it only happens every so often. It's really weird. That to me does not fit.
I do remember that.
Yeah, there's a few of them in there, which I don't know. But okay, those are your match types. I think we went a little in depth in there. It's honestly endless. Let's talk about the cage. You could have the old blue WWF cage, which is so cool.
What I was going to say, one more thing about the 10 pounds of gold. Yes, it is short, but the story itself and how the story arcs are written for Johnny Retro and like how like the dialogue between you and your opponent, that is great. That it's very well written. It's, it is engaging and it holds your attention. But like I said, it's just short. But what is there is very good.
Gotta agree. But all right, let's run through
the cage match.
Yeah, cage match. You could do the chain link or you could do the blue old school cage. But let's go to the arenas.
And it's called Big Blue, which makes it even better.
Okay. Let's go to the arenas now because you have RetroMania, the school, the ballroom, which is just like Hammerstein Ballroom. And Mike mentions in the interview he's such a big ECW fan that I'm glad this is in there. There's Japan, NWA Power, NWA 70th Anniversary, a beach, a warehouse, House of Hardcore, Stevie Richards Fitness, which is a big gym with people working out. You always have to have the gym in a school in there for some reason.
Yes, always.
Universal Wrestling College, a Pro Wrestling Tees, which is cool. It's got that black brick with the Pro Wrestling Tees spray painted on it, kind of like their real building. Too Many Games, which has a lot of cameos from other, this is pretty much what Mike wanted, the gaming YouTubers and podcasts. Not all of them. There's Stomp in Paradise, which if you're on our network, if you know the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast.
What's that from?
It's a beautiful Stomp in Paradise arena, which features Smart Mark Sterling on commentary. And then there's Hell, which goes with Warhorse. And then there's the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, which is a Hasbro-esque ring that you could wrestle in, also featuring Smart Mark, some cameos from signs that say, "Who's Lucy?" There's
Stang's in the crowd.
Stang in the crowd. The Major Pod shirts that you know and love. There's a British arena, the BWO arena, a Caralooza Collection Agency, and Retropalooza. Very cool.
And, every arena is gorgeous. They all look great. They all have their unique characteristics. But what are the arenas without the actual wrestlers themselves? So I am happy to read off the roster for this game, John.
Hit me with it.
The roster for RetroMania Wrestling is Animal, Hawk, Nick Aldis, Tommy Dreamer, Colt Cabana, Blue Meanie, Stevie Richards, Hollywood Nova, Chris Bay, Mr. Hughes, Matt Cardona, Brian Myers, James Storm, Johnny Retro, Nikita Koloff, Warhorse, Austin Idol, Jeff Cobb, and Zack Sabre Jr.
Pretty damn cool, man. Pretty damn cool. But you can't forget about the DLC because James Storm is coming, Mr. Hughes is coming, and right now Chris Bay has entered the game. And let me tell you, we saw his sprites right away. But the moves that they gave him are all cool. They all resemble what he could really do, all the amazing stuff in real life. He's honestly one of my favorite wrestlers on TV or the indies, whatever you want to call it right now. And I have suggested him for almost every Creator Pro show going forward. We haven't done it yet, but hopefully soon. Pretty cool that the DLC is all free. If you bought the game, you just update it and it's all there. I know he was one of the last ones, but so was the BWO Arena and a bunch others, and that's pretty much I think all we're getting as far as DLC. But the one that stands out is like kind of doesn't fit is Warhorse, and that's because he won the Indie Mania, I think it was called Indie Mania competition, which Smart Mark was also in, and he made it kind of far, but Warhorse made it, and we've tried to come up with a word for the gaming version of Toyetic, but he fits the bill and he has a cool moveset. We got that cool Hell Arena, and yeah, right now he's just part of RetroMania and he fits.
Yeah, I don't think game-etic is the right word, but there's something.
Game-etic?
There's something, yeah. Let's get into it.
The artwork here. These caricature-esque wrestlers, they're cool. But are these a callback? Like, was this WrestleFest? Like, if you look at the WrestleFest cabinet, these aren't on there. No, this is kind of, I guess, their own style. Because you do get the same cutscenes like you do in RetroMania on WrestleFest, like with the Road Warriors and such in between matches. But they're not the over-the-top. They're more realistic looking with Mean Gene there and everything. But so that's kind of cool that they added their own spin on something here, because you get very familiar with that. That's the loading screen. That's the cover. That's on the iArcade. That's everywhere. So listen, if you, I don't know, if you want something new and unique, there it is. But I guess we can't really say there's a definitive cover here since it's mostly digital and online. But
so I guess the PlayStation Store cover is the most. So there was a hard case cover for the Nintendo Switch that you could pre-order.
We're getting there.
I know, but I'm just going to say that exists. So if you want to look that up, or if you want to just wait till we talk about it, we'll talk about that. But that does exist in hard, like the clamshell form, but digitally, there is the RetroMania Wrestling PlayStation Store cover art that is also the icon that you would click on to play the game.
Yeah. And everything visually is just impressive from start to finish. So let's talk about the actual art style here. It very, very much replicates WrestleFest. Obviously a little updated. If you go back to our Road Warriors episode, our deep dive, we compare the two at the end between WrestleFest and RetroMania. But very similar when it comes to the entrances with the crowd. You're looking at them from the front. They do their pose. It's got the same type of text. And then when the match starts, everything kind of falls into place. And you get the person's logo that you are and your opponent going head-to-head, which we also see in other games like WrestleMania, the arcade game. I think Raw and Royal Rumble have that as well. Yep. You get a nice announcement from the announcer telling who's who. And like we said, Ian Riccaboni and Colt Cabana are calling the whole thing, which has some good jokes in there when Colt Cabana is actually wrestling in there too. So, okay. The chair's outside the ring. The chair's just on the apron. Very similar to WrestleFest. I keep getting tongue-tied between RetroMania and WrestleFest.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that happened leading up to the match or the game release of itself, because we had played all of the games leading up to, and then I think we did one or two after.
Yeah.
Our interview with Mike Herman. It was just like, we're talking about Matt Mania, then we're talking about WrestleFest, then we're talking about RetroFest, and then we're playing the other WWE WrestleFest. And it was just like so many of the same similar sounding words. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
So everything is so similar. Even the button mash animation is very similar. I think the only difference is the actual HUD from WrestleFest is more clunky, and it doesn't have those 3 bars that fill up that show you if you could do your weak, strong, or medium grapple. It's just kind of on a whim. But yeah, this is like the perfect sequel. Everything's there.
You know, if you're at all familiar with WrestleFest, there is a very small but very, I don't want to say it's important, but it's just a cool nostalgia factor if you're familiar with WrestleFest that that RetroSoft did, is that if you're familiar with that neon light starry background that WrestleFest had on the cabinet, they had it in the intro screen, they had it on the poster for the game. They utilized that style throughout all of the promotional materials for this game. They use it for the releases of, or the announcements of the DLC. It's on the stickers that you could get. It's on the game instruction manual. And it's not something that's prevalent in the game itself, but it's just a cool detail that is on the iArcade and the artwork throughout the game, which is it's like a cool little detail that they did artistically.
Yeah. But speaking of the iArcade, I haven't done this in a while. Did you know?
At all.
Did you know Retrosoft released a Switch case for the game, which included the game download, game instruction booklet, and wrestler stickers?
Did you know Colt Cabana and Ring of Honor's Ian Riccaboni are on commentary?
Did you know RetroMania Wrestling was released for the iArcade along with a special edition arcade cabinet? Now,
here is my petition, John. For the remainder of this episode, we should just call this Restro Fest, and we'll just combine them all.
It's even worse.
It's wrestle. It's restro. I can't do it.
Yeah, no, don't do it. Let's talk about the iArcade for a second. I built this thing. It is.
I've played on it.
George has played on it. So here's the thing. This came out before RetroMania came out. So it got delivered to Creative Pro Wrestling. Brian Meyer said, I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. Can you please set it up for me? So I did. I set it up. It took maybe an hour tops. I think Broski task rabbited it, and
you time lapsed the video of it, right?
Yeah, I put that on Patreon, but I think I'm going to actually throw that in our main YouTube feed for this episode. So be on the lookout for that. It was pretty cool. Pretty easy to do. Plug and play with the screen and everything else. Just use a screwdriver and build it. It's fairly easy, but the fact that it came out before the game means you had to try to find some other games on there, and there honestly was not much. There's a snowboarding game, which is usually my go-to when I'm hanging out at CAP, where you just kind of have to go around and do some tricks and stuff. It's kind of lame, but there is also a Mario Kart type game that you could play, so it's kind of the off-brands. Now, the worst part is there's no Wi-Fi at Creative Pro. So if I want to update it, if I want to get RetroMania, you have to attach to the whatever hotspot from my phone, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to put passwords in and such. So it's not ideal. I don't know if we're ever going to get RetroMania on that thing because I'm not paying for it, and I don't know if Brian knows how to put his copy on there if he even has one. So it's just cool to look at for now. We'll post pictures or whatever next time I'm there. It's nice. It's nice. I understand that they had to have it because they're featured on it. It's very cool.
Oh yeah.
But okay, yeah, the Switch case that we mentioned earlier, pretty cool. Comes with an old school looking game instruction booklet, and the cover actually looks more similar to WrestleFest than any other part of the game with that neon in the background. And it comes with stickers. I remember when this came out, Broski was trying to trade people and get his own sticker, or else he felt like it was kind of pointless. I think it's pretty cool that they could do this, even though the game is not featured on a Switch cartridge. You just throw it in your collection. It's something cool to have.
Yeah, I have mine somewhere. I think I may have put it in my my collection bin for when I eventually am able to sort out that DTOF behind me. It'll be in there somewhere, but it was such a cool setup, and I wanted to have the hard copy version of it, even if it was just an empty case with book and some stickers in it. But I love it. I think the presentation of it was great. Like we talked about already, the nostalgia throwback to that original WrestleFest background is such a cool little detail that they didn't have to do, but because Mike Herman is such a fan of the original, and eventually this becoming the official sequel to WrestleFest, it just made so much sense. So I love it. I think this is that caricature style that we talked about on our interview with them with Mike Herman, and I think their style that they did for these is so unique and so great.
Yeah, for sure. I actually don't have the Switch thing, but I also don't have a Switch, so I guess that tracks, right?
Yeah, well, I think at one point it wasn't I don't remember. I don't think the one that I have is a Switch case. I think it's the same. It's this case, but I don't think the artwork is labeled as for the Switch, because I think it was a pre-order bonus that was just the RetroSoft case or the RetroMania case that wasn't branded for the Switch.
Right. I would like to reach out to Mike and just, even though he's not going to answer, see what's up with part 2 of that story mode.
Let's say we could do it. Why not do a follow-up interview?
I would love to do a follow-up interview. But okay.
Maybe we can petition ourselves to be in the next
hey, you never know.
Next update.
Even just put us in the Major Pod crowd or something.
Hey, I'm down.
But all right.
Maybe make a Major Fest arena. We can be in that one. We can have a booth.
Ooh, you never know. It's time now. Because you look a little tense. We had 7 weeks of Game Wars, 7 weeks of dealing with me, arguing games. Even though
7 weeks. It's 3 years.
163 episodes, including this one. It's time for some R&R, some ratings and reviews. Metacritic with an overall 67%. Steam, it is rated a 4 out of 5 stars. PC Magazine with a 3.5 out of 5. And now Game Rant gives us a 2.5 out of 5. OpenCritic with a 65%. And Nintendo Life with a 6 out of 10. Now, Nintendo Life claims that the game will get a cult following, but feels like a prototype. And they also criticized the length of the story, saying it was too short. Now, I think this goes hand in hand with us saying a game can't be rated right away, especially this day and age, especially with patches rolling out. This game from now until when it came out is night and day different. I enjoyed it now. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it then, but I enjoy it way more now. The stuff they added, how smooth they made it, how you know how to do the finishers now and the prompts on the screen. It is night and day. I don't trust most of these ratings, to be honest, because they probably all rated them right away. But look at the Steam rating of 4 out of 5 stars. That's constant. That's going in real time. That's people playing the game. So while the critics might give it that, I'm going to go more with the people actually playing it here.
Yeah. But listen, we could talk about what Metacritic and Game Rant and Nintendo Life think of this game, but there's only one rating that really truly matters, John, and that's ours. Because you know what time it is? For the first time in 4 weeks, it's time to rate the game.
The game!
Oh, how I missed that.
Oh, it's lovely. It's good. It's good to be back. Game Wars was fun. And we said it at the beginning of this episode, but, you know, it's good to be back to the normal format. And I'm going to kick us off.
Kick us off.
Johnny Clash, RetroMania Wrestling. Are you going to play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired! Man, I missed that. Easy. Play it forever.
Woo!
I am going to play this game for a long time. This is a game that I do actually sometimes forget about because, you know, the story mode's over. You just got to go in and play random stuff, maybe do 10 pounds of gold again. I will forget about it for a little bit, but I always come back. I always pop it in. I played through the story mode again just today only. So there's a lot to do, and I enjoy it, and I'm going to play it forever. I can't wait for the second part of the story mode and to get James Storm and Mr. Hughes. But now, George Feis, will you play it forever or future endeavor?
This is a hard decision. No, it's the easiest decision. It's a play it forever for so many reasons. I mean, this is the game, and I know you equated it to a certain series of games for the similar grapple system, but I will compare it to Fire Pro for one reason and one reason only. It is the same kind of mindset that I have that you said. You can play this game, love it, then not play it for a couple of weeks, couple months, then come back to it, and it's brand spanking new. You're like, oh, God, I forgot how great this game is. It's one of those games that the art style, the gameplay is so unique and so just attractive in how it's presented, and the controls are great. Everything about this game is a huge win. Yes, the story mode is short, but you know that they're working on it. Is still 2 DLC characters to be planned, and I'm pretty sure that they announced that there are even more that they have in the pipeline that they would like to add in. I cannot wait for the second half of the story mode to come out, and easy play it forever for me.
Double play it forever. I love it. And hey, let us know what you think.
You got to say it, though.
Double piff.
You got to say the right word. Thank you.
Double play forever. Now, I'm used to Game Wars happening where we say, no, it's up to you to vote. But listen, every week you guys could also tell us what you think about the game. Let us know. Send us a tweet, a Instagram, a fax, whatever it is. Carrier pigeon, owl, I don't know, Hedwig. And let us know what you think about the game. If you're on the edge, maybe you haven't played it yet. Maybe you want to watch more videos. Go check out our playthrough and see if it's something you will be into. But George, one thing hasn't changed in this whole time we've been doing Game Wars, and now we're back. And that's the soft lock. Are you ready to enter the soft lock?
This is a good question this week. All right, Soft Lock is a segment where one of our members of our Patreon give us a topic to debate, discuss. Sometimes it's just a question. And this week, the Soft Lock comes from Jeremy Verrett. And Jeremy's question is, Jerem's question is, if you were both in a wrestling promotion and told... I'm sorry, I'm going to read that again. If you were both in a wrestling promotion and creative told the both of you to come up with outlandish gimmicks, what would they be? John, I've got the perfect answer for this. How about if you were a wrestler and we had a podcast and I was your manager and we pretended like we were going to have a wrestling match, and then David C. Anderson came in at the last minute and replaced me with Shane Douglas?
No. We need an outlandish gimmick. What would your Doink the Clown be, George? See, I've kind of done this. A few years ago, I was in a tag team called Valor, which was ruined because Pokemon Go came out 2 months later. And
I loved Valor. It was so good.
We started off as world travelers. That was our thing. Like, we were going to be a different country every time. We did promos in French, and then like we ended off in English because like something always went wrong. And I don't know, it never really took off like with us. Like, we were only getting booked like 1 or 2 places. We didn't do it at Cap, which was like our home place. Like, we tried it other places and it didn't stick, so we didn't keep doing it. But that was a lot of fun. But
shout out to the first person that ever let me design a shirt for them at Cap that wasn't Smart Mark Sterling. TJ Warren.
Good old buddy.
The man.
But other than that, I always wanted to do, obviously, like a Sting type character. But what if it was like a creepy character that always failed? Like, what if you tried scaring people, but you would like trip, or you would come up through the ring, but
like you're Ghostface from Scream, but you're the Not Another Teen Movie version of him.
Scary movie, yeah.
Or a scary movie version of him.
Or just think of like all the stupid stuff that WCW did. You could just do that again now.
I think I just came up with the dumbest idea that I could possibly think of, but I feel like it may have been done and I'm just not remembering it, and that's why it came to mind. What if the wrestler's character was that you had amnesia, but every time you went into a wrestling match, you thought that you were a different wrestler, like a popular wrestler from a different time period. And like, you would, but every time you got hit or like a move was done to you, you turned into another wrestler. So you would start the match and you would like pretend that you're Steve Austin, and then like your opponent would hit you with a body slam and you'd get up and you shake the ropes like you were the Ultimate Warrior. And like every time a move was done to you, you just changed into a different wrestler and like did a spot like them. I was thinking that, but Eugene was always Eugene, but he was just paying tribute to his favorites. Yeah. Like he would do the leg drop or the rock bottom or the stunner, and he would be like, yeah. And then he would yell in The Rock's face and say that Triple H was his favorite wrestler. But he was always Eugene. He was just doing that. I'm saying like you fully commit to the idea that you think that you are the Ultimate Warrior, and like doing, talking about filling the rocket up with rocket fuel and doing the snort and shaking the ropes.
Yeah, that could be cool. I like this question. Again, head on over to Twitter. Let us know what you think. But are you ready to now talk about some gaming news?
I am, but I still think that FWF Shane Douglas idea might pay off.
Yeah, okay. right, your gaming news sponsored by WrestleChamp. New for the iOS and Android. Download today. Use code GameMarks to receive a free move pack to get you going. EA's Iron Man game will now tell a new story from Tony Stark, so it's not going to be the Iron Man stories from the movies or the comics. It's going to be something new and fresh, which I like. FIFA 23 has announced that Ted Lasso will officially be in this year's game, which I think shocked a bunch of people. It looks pretty funny. God of War Ragnarok could be finished with initial development, which is great. It's coming. It's almost near. Now, the GTA 6 leak, we have to talk about this one. There was a leak. It is now being investigated by the FBI. It was that big, where the leaker has leaked 90 videos, all from various points of the development. Some are just the characters walking or testing some technical stuff, or walking with a gun, shooting, going into a diner and shooting that up, or robbing some places. Now, this is bad that this happened. This also proves how toxic the internet is, because people complaining about the graphics or how stupid the game looks. This is a game that is under development. There's no date for this game yet. It could be 2-3 years away. And you're going to complain about what the graphics look like or what the game looks like. This is not even close to final. So if you're one of those people, you're an asshole. Okay? Look at GTA 5. Look what this game is a monster on 3 generations of consoles. You don't think GTA 6 is going to be just as good? Have they missed ever? I mean, 1 and 2 were kind of unknowns at the time. 3 was a masterpiece, and then you had...
but did you ever play 1 and 2? Like, 1 and 2
they're
are
fun. You can fart on people.
Phenomenal games. Like, I remember being obsessed with them when the first time I played them. I like them so much that I even played the less popular London expansion to GTA 1 or 2, which was significantly worse than the just like base version of 1 and 2, but because it was like an expansion and it was the continuation, I was like, I gotta play it.
Yeah. It's just... I don't know. They don't miss when it comes to GTA. It's like GTA, Red Dead Redemption. They're just always hits. I mean, there was a state of emergency, which we won't talk about, but that was what it was. They're not going to mess this game up. It's going to be great. It's going to have the Bonnie and Clyde characters that you could do double duty with. So, I don't know. Everything was taken off the internet since there's an FBI investigation happening.
I can't. That's insane.
There was someone who grabbed some of the screenshots. Now, they were glitchy and streaky, and they cleaned them up somehow, and I thought it looked great. I thought it was on par with like a next-gen GTA 5, what it would look like. The cars were greatly detailed, which, I mean, how much better can you get from what they did look like? I thought going into a diner was cool, and seeing people sit there. It's going to be a good game, and I can't wait for it. So if you're... I think you're an asshole if you're one of those people.
The coolest thing that I saw in the screenshots is I don't even know how to like properly articulate it. The atmospheric effects that they had, like... Yeah. Like there was like smog in the air, and like when you were in the nightclub scene, like it looks like dingy and dirty and like dusty, and the atmospheric effect that they have, where like it really looks like, you know, it's more than just like you get rain, you get snow, it's light out, it's dark out. Like it was just like an extra level of detail that I'm just not used to seeing in like a GTA. Like, it almost was like that uncanny valley kind of feeling where it's just like, holy shit, is this like a real photo that someone just like doctored to the point that like now it looks like a computer generated image? Or is this on the opposite where it's computer graphics that are so good that they're actually like too close to real now?
Yeah. But I can't wait for that game. It's going to be good.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great.
But okay. Releasing on the 26th, we have The Spirit and the Mouse. On the 27th, Dual Universe, Haku Life, and Life is Strange Arcadia Bay Collection. On the 28th, Deathverse Let It Die. Also on the 28th, Destroyer the U-Boat Hunter. On the 29th, Brewmaster. Oh, that sounds cool. Dorfomantic, sure. From Space, Moonbreaker, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, Railgrade, Valkyrie, Elysium? How do you say that? Sure. Valkyrie Elysium.
It's either Elysium or Elysium. It's
sure.
One of those is right.
And then on the 30th, you're getting FIFA 23, which is the last FIFA game, and My Little Pony: A Maritime Bay Adventure. You going to be getting that one?
I was going to say that we should actually do a playthrough of that. Okay, going back to the question from a couple of weeks ago about what sim needs to be made, give me a brewery simulator.
I think that might be what this is.
If that's what this is, and it's like
I got Steam open. Let's check it out. Because that sounds like a lot of fun. I downloaded House Flipper. I haven't touched it yet, but
yes, Brewmaster beer brewing simulator game. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
This is Top Shelf Troy Nelson's new favorite game. I guarantee it.
Brewmaster. Oh yeah, September 29th. There's also
the man who worked in a brewery.
Dungeon
will be getting this game.
Dungeon Brewmaster, which is VR, which is not beer. Oh, this is actually pretty sweet. I wonder if that's going to be on the Game Pass, because I will definitely download that. That's pretty cool.
Hey, have you ever played? The hell's the name of that game? Is it Planet Coaster?
No. Sounds like a roller coaster game.
So if memory serves, and I could be wrong, but the name just came to mind, it is a more detailed, more in-depth, like in terms of this, like the scale of the camera version of Roller Coaster Tycoon, and I think that you could actually ride the roller coasters that you build in first person.
Oh, I think you could actually do that in later Roller Coaster Tycoons as well.
Oh, okay. Because I know that there was a point where you were big into all of the like the Age of Empires and the Roller Coaster Tycoon. It was like any top-down game that was like you went through like months of like, I want to play every top-down game. I don't care if it's a real-time strategy game or a simulator. I just want to do all the top-down games.
I got so deep in Age of Empires 2 in the story mode that it just got so hard. And there was just one I got stuck on that I just gave up. So I haven't played that in a bit. I've been on Sims 4.
Oh, okay.
But all right. What else we got here?
We got youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for all of our weekly playthrough videos, exclusive content, and more. I think John and I said that we might start doing Let's Play videos of things and try to like conquest some games here and try to get
some dubs.
A dub in stupid games, and I think we might call that show Dub Hunt. Who knows? But that'll be coming soon. We'll keep you updated on that. But John, Patreon, baby, take me through what we got going on.
All right, last week, Clash and Burn, I put out a nice little vlog of the Creative Pro Wrestling Wildlife show, including the pre-show battle royal, which features friend of the show, TK Wild. Now, this Tuesday...
Throwing big double axe handles in that match.
Yeah. Now, this week, you are getting Wild's World, which is his very own show where he takes you through his wild adventures. Now, every Friday, you get the show ad-free along with the show notes so you can follow along, and you're able to submit your soft lock questions up until Thursday afternoon, and we will pick one right before we record the episode. Thursday's recording night, baby. Now, This Wednesday coming up, September 28th, GMP64 Warzone live on twitch.tv/GameMarksPod. That is GMP64's Royal Rumble. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now,
I cannot wait.
Because of that, because of some other unforeseen stuff in our schedule, game night for the Patreon members is moving to probably the following week, so we'll keep you updated on that.
And... an announcement came out.
George, any bookings coming up?
It's funny you say. So I had a surprise booking at Wildlife, actually, where I got thrown into doing some commentary at the Creative Pro Show, which was very cool. Shout out to Brian Myers on letting me do that. And hopefully I get booked to do more of that. But speaking of commentary, John, do you happen to know where we will be on October 9th?
We will be live at FWF4 in New Jersey. Now listen, there's no Shane Douglas here. There's no Heath. I will not be wrestling a match
I'm not letting John take any more bumps on my behalf. Those days are done.
Me and George will be teaming up with the legendary top shelf Troy Nelson, providing you commentary the entire show. I cannot wait.
I can't wait to watch the Off the Hop Rope Memorial Battle Royal with him.
Yeah, it never gets old, huh?
Nope, never gets old. I actually pitched that for
you did. You popped me with that.
Yeah, I want that to happen. You know what? Regardless of what it's actually called, I'm calling it that.
Either way, we'll be able to make that joke on air.
First and last commentary booking for FWF, guys. Self-sabotaging it, and it hasn't even happened yet. But John, let the good people know what we are playing next week.
Next week, we will be playing, in the spirit of all these Game Wars battles happening, Virtual Pro Wrestling. This is the first one. So we're playing
the PlayStation version?
The PlayStation version of Virtual Pro Wrestling.
So we're playing WCW versus the world again. Let's go.
All right, I can't wait. It's about time we dip into these VPW games.
All right, guys. Yeah. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for all of our new shirt designs. Guys, there are so many new shirt designs that are up there. They are awesome. And every shirt that you get helps support the show. So thank you for that. And like John said before, patreon.com/GameMarksPod for all of that exclusive content. At GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and leave us pick it up. Do it one more time. There you go. And leave us a 5-star review on both Apple Podcast and Spotify. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. John, we are back, and I think we came out swinging with RetroMania Wrestling, and I think that there is nothing left to do but for you to do that thing that you are a master of doing.
I can't do that on air. Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.